Hi, I'm Tiana J, and I just wanted to tape a response to Just Call Me Waz, Philando Castile Morning Tea. This is not a video where I'm bashing or refuting anything that Wahama has said. I just kind of wanted to give some insight as to why the shooting would be justified if it did transpire the way that Wahama described. Based on the way Wahama described the events, the short answer as to why Philando was shot is because he declared that he had a gun.
So you go back to get your wallet out of your back pocket, and the cop is right here, and you say to him, I do have a gun. You tell him. It's not like you're like, I not tell him. I do have a gun, but I do have a carry to conceal.
We don't really know what exactly transpired because they haven't released all of the audio recording from the police officer's side. And at the time of the taping, no one knew about the 911 call where Philando and his girlfriend were guilty of having a wide set nose. If he did say, I have a gun, but I have a permit, as he's reaching behind the back as Wahama described, yes, he was going to be shot, period. Based on the way the officer was behaving in Diamond's video after the shooting and sort of screaming like, I told you not to move and all these things, if Philando really did say, I have a gun, as he was reaching for the wallet, but I have a permit, that officer didn't hear a damn thing other than I have a gun. From what we know now with the 911 call, he pulled him over because he had a wide set nose and may have been involved in a robbery. He was suspected of having been involved in a robbery because of his wide set nose. And police officers are trained to react to scenarios that I would say are similar to Philando's, but what I've been saying to friends as we've talked about this situation this week, they are trained to react, in my opinion, for worst case scenarios. And so everything I'm going to tell you is based on the experiences that I have had firsthand, attending certain events with law enforcement and attending some of their academies that they have and just learning and trying to get involved and get active. So when it comes to their use of force module, they do have lots of different scenarios. I was shown a handful, maybe 3 or 4 of those. One or two were the exact same scenario with different outcomes. And I'll try to do another video about my experiences specifically at what is the Community Police Academy through the Los Angeles Police Department. But what I can say is that from the modules that I experienced, the scenarios that were presented to us were the worst case scenarios possible. Meaning you came on a call where someone exhibited erratic behavior, and as you were trying to talk them down, they decided to just pull out a knife and then storm towards you. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but what I do know is, programming is real. Programming is used in everything that we do. We are programmed as human beings as, little worker bees. And so if you present programming that shows that people of a certain ethnicity behave in a certain way, force is going to be justified, period. There are some key terms that people need to start, looking into and understanding. One of those is the consent decree. Wikipedia says a consent decree is an agreement or settlement to resolve a dispute between two parties without admission of guilt in a criminal case or liability in a civil case, and most often refers to such a type of settlement in the United States. And so we've had quite a few cities that have been placed under consent decree. I say this because I don't want people to get, I think people are getting excited when they hear that the Department of Justice is like investigating something. Consent decree is a joke, man. Consent decree, basically, it's the only thing the federal government can use to try to threaten a city with bankruptcy. Like, that's the easiest way to describe it. When I read everything that happened to consent decree on LAPD's website, They were adamant about they were not accepting any blame, which is what it says. You know, you can say, hey, it's without admission of guilt. And they weren't accepting any blame for all the fucked up shit that was happening here. But they knew that the United States had more funding. They had more money to tie this city up. So they just said, you know what, it's easier to just, you know, accept this consent decree. And it's only for 5 years. It's not forever. You know, 5 years really isn't a lot when you're dealing with criminal justice reform. You know, these are old habits that, you know, are not going to go away in 5 years. And consent decree, it really is just an independent person oversees it. For LAPD, they made that the Inspector General, but if you go and look at the organizational flow chart for LAPD, like the Inspector General is under LAPD. The Inspector General is not like separate from LAPD, so they're basically just investigating themselves, and it's, you know, no surprise, everything's turning out great every time for them. But that's consent decree. And so if you're in a city that has had that, that means, you know, some things popped off that shouldn't have, and the federal government said, okay, look, we're going to step in here and try to regulate you a little bit, but there's not much happening there. The other thing I want to make people aware of is the mission statement of the LAPD specifically, because I have that here, but you need to read the mission statements of your law enforcement agencies, okay? Because I think a lot of people misinterpret the true purpose of the law enforcement agency, whereas, you know, we've heard throughout history that originally law enforcement agencies were formed to be slave catchers. And we've kind of said, you know, this really hasn't changed, you know, in any sense of the word here in the last 20, 25 years. But, you know, we're kind of starting to awaken to the coded language that, you know, people use. And so I just kind of, as you guys are going through your awakening or staying woke, I just wanted to let you guys know about this mission statement and just kind of point out how the police are not here to protect and serve you. All right. This is from LAPD Online. So like I said, go online, you can read everything all day. It is the mission of the Los Angeles Police Department to safeguard the lives and property of the people we serve, to reduce the incidence of fear and crime, and to enhance public safety while working with the diverse communities to improve their quality of life. Our mandate is to do so with honor and integrity, while at all times conducting ourselves with the highest ethical standards to maintain public confidence. What I want to point out is that the only time public is used, there's two times. One, they say public safety, but the other time that public is used is at the very end of the mission statement, where it says, while at all times conducting ourselves with the highest ethical standards to maintain public confidence. If you go back to the beginning of the mission statement, it says that the mission of the Los Angeles Police Department is to safeguard the lives and property of the people we serve. It does not say the lives and the property of the public. It says of the people we serve. So right then and there, you know, they are not serving your poor black ass at all. They are serving the city. They are serving the mayor. They are serving that councilman. They are serving those billionaires. They are serving everyone but you. But the only time they actually care about you is when they want to maintain your confidence, meaning your compliance, your obedience. So please, please start reading. Read everything you can possibly get your hands on. It's legal now. We're allowed to read. This stuff is here plain as day. Like, I don't even have to do some sort of like birther conspiracy truther video. It's right here on their freaking website. Just read it. The last thing I just want to talk about is, you know, since we're on the topic of reading, one, you need to go back and find that PSA. Brilliant. But two, please read the mission statement of Black Lives Matter. I'm so tired of seeing Black Lives Matter being used incorrectly. And I'll just leave it at that. for those of you that have read it and you understand what it's about, you know, we're good to go. But for the rest of you who have not, you might want to read it before you start saying things like all lives matter, or specifically like that lady who got fired from the hospital last week, white lives matter. Black Lives Matter is sort of a play on words, and so I think a lot of people are losing that message, and it would be ever so helpful if everyone would educate themselves as to what Black Lives Matter is about before they just start, you know, talking about it and calling it a terrorist organization. I told a friend the other day that, you know, if they are a terrorist organization, they're like the worst terrorists ever, and I didn't mean it as like sarcasm. I meant in the fact of their effectiveness in bringing about acts of terror. You know, if they were a terrorist organization, they're doing a shitty job because they haven't killed anyone. They haven't stole anyone's money or pensions. You know, they haven't taken over a like forest for a month. They haven't done anything but march down the street or, you know, ask you to give a fuck. So if that makes you a terrorist, then what the fuck is ISIS?